Okay. So, Yois, the next psukim in the parak that we are learning. Just a second. The next psukim in the parak that we are learning are talking about the choloim of the Ish Hashomer of Machane Midian, which gave the strength to Gideon to start the Milchama. And Yois, yesterday, you heard the news, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, the birthday of Yosef Hatzadik, given the Zayde from Gideon. When Yosef is Baal HaChalemes, we'll soon see the connection between the Chalemes of Yosef and the Chaleim by Gideon. So I would like to say one word, which is Negeh to us in Nach, and from there we'll go into Gideon. If you look at the additional page that you received, the third page, Pokoi Divkoi, state at the end of Sefer Bereshis by Yosef's Ptir. Vayomer Yosef Alecho Adonai Meis ve'Elokim Pokoi Divkoi Eschem ve'Elo Eschem in Oretz Azois Elo Oretz Asher Nishbo LaAvrom LeYitzchok UleYankiv. It's the pasuk at the end of Parshas Vayechi. Steht in der Askenim Balatesis, Ve'Elokim Pokoi Divkoi Kloimar Keminyon Pokoid Yechsa Haboire Miminya Shnei Galuschem. We know Klal Yisrael is supposed to be Mitzrayim Abamo Ishona. Pokoid is Begematria 190. Pokoid Keminyan Pokoid 190. Nisna be'aleim shelo yini zatoises shelo yeh b'Mitzrayim rak redu shono only 210. Nimtzo shedileg miminyan arba me'ois minyan pokoid. Veloshon ifkoid, kloimar kemoi veloi nifkad mimenu ish. Nifkad means choser. Means pokoid, the 190, yifkoid, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will deduct its source from the original oynesh that is supposed to be arba me'ois shono. Azay zogte das kenim balatesis. Ay vekoshe de besforum ksiv pokoid choser vov. The gematria stimmt nicht. Für Shleimar, this is all Tesis Loshen. Shema yeshem la mikro vekorinam pokoid bechoilom veloi pokoid be komatz. So he's inserting, he's making as a pokoid ksiv choser. Yesh aim, yesh aim la mikro, so you could make the cheshben according to ksiv mola, and therefore you're deducting off 190 years. Okay. The problem is that the next pasuk, by the way, it's not only a shtickle Torah from the Dasken, Baltesis Balaturim says exactly the same shtickle Torah, mila b'mila. But if you look at the next pasuk, look at the next pasuk. Vayash ba Yosef es bnei Yisrael lemor pokoid ifkoid elokim eschem v'alisem es atzmo yisem izeh. In other words, the next pasuk right afterwards, the first pasuk, as you read, it says, Anoichi meis ve'elokim pokoid ifken eschem. He's telling him the story, what's going to happen. The next pasuk, again, state, Pokoid Ifkoid Elokim Eschem Va'alisem, the shvuah of the Aloas Atzomois from Yosef. The question is, the Rishonim Mutzenzach, why does it say in the second one, he should have said, L'chatchil Rabbeinu B'chaye, should have said, L'chatchil Pokoid Ifkoid in the first pasuk, include Es Atzmoi say, was is noch amol the pokoid ifkoid beyachas to ha'aloas atzmoisov v'yosef eretz. I would like to say a word, which is a shtickle mathematics, but it's negeh to us, and I want you to halt kop. Sugya Sagmor and Avid Zohar we just had on the table in Daftes Amud Aleph. Tona Devei Eliyahu. Sheishes alofim shono have ha'oilom. This world is meant to be 6,000 years. Shnei alofim toyu, v'shnei alofim toiro, v'shnei alofim yemois HaMashiach. Ube'avonoseinu sherabu. This is a Lashon Hagmor. Anybody learned Daf Hayomi was yesterday's Daf. Ube'avonoseinu sherabu yotzu me'em mashi yotzu shnei alofim Torah me'imas. For the Gemara Kasha, when does the Alpayim Shnois Torah begin? It's not true. Because Matan Torah, we know, anybody who sat in this room long enough, was in the year 2448, the same year they came out of Mitzrayim. So you have merely 1,552 years. You don't have 2,000 years. Ve'oid, the kime'aynet be'utarte ilfe u'parte de'ave alfe hu de'ave. It's only 1,000 and change. The Gemara doesn't go into this cheshbon of 1552. Elo meve'es ha'nefesh asher osu b'choro. Ugmir et Avrom ba'yishaytze b'chamishim v'tarte shnin have. Avrom Avinu was born, kayadua, in 1948, l'brias oilo. And Avrom started his Baal Tshuva Yeshiva, the first branch of Or Sameach, was started by Avrom when Avrom was 52 years of age. And that's when he started making nefoshes LaHashem u'L'Teirosei. Avrom is 52 plus 1948, exactly after 2,000 years of Toyu. Avot on Teireh commands the 2,000 years from Teireh. This is the Gemara Shtickle Teireh in Avodah Zarah. Now, Zogt Rashi, Umiterach LaAvrom Ayen, Arei Tov Tov Kuf Memches al Elef, Ume'Avrom Ad Yitzchok Kuf, Arei Alpayim Memches. Rashi says, makes us the cheshbon. Avram was born 1948. Yitzchok was born 2048. Why 2048? Because Avram was 100 years old. So he was born 2048. By the way, I'd like to say it, Harbeto Bezeh, Bris ben Abesorim, Rashi Esakash Sefer Shmois, it says, Umoishav ne Yisrael asher yosh be'eretz Mitzrayim shloish mois shon, arba mois v'shloishim shona. Rashi says, you reckon it from the Psula from Bris ben Abesorim. In other words, Yitzchak was born 2048, but you're starting it from 2018. Why 2018? Because the bracha of Yitzchak was given in Bris ben Abesorim, which was in the year 2018. So you count the 30 years, and then arba mois shona, from 2048, Yitzchak's birth, till 2448 when it came out. That's the cheshbon. I mean, the only problem that we have in that is because Avram Avinu leaves, beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha, Shteit v'Avram ben Chomesh Shonim v'Shivim Shana b'Tzeisa Mechor. And chronologically, when you read the Psukim, there is, I mean, Bris ben Abesorim comes after he comes into Eretz Yisrael. Bris ben Abesorim wasn't in Eretz Yisrael. So how does it stem? If Avram, how does Avram 70? The Shteit in Ramban, Avram made 2 aliyot. One aliyah he made when he was 70 years old. He came, he went to Bris ben Abesorim, and then he made a U-turn. His father was sick. He went back, he waited, his father was nifter, and then beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha is really in the second aliyah that he made to Eretz Yisrael, but the parsha of Bris ben Abesorim, which is brought later, took place chronologically 5 years before. This is the Ramban, this is Brais of the Seder Olam, just not to lose it. Okay. Yankiv was born in the year, just want you to halt kop, 2108. Why? Because it says V'Yitzchok b'shishim shana beledes oisom, and in as much as Yitzchok was born in 2048, you add 60, so Yankiv was born in 2108. Okay, Yankiv was alive for 147 years, at least 18 psukim. It comes out that Yankiv is nifter in the year 2255. I did the math for you. If you add from the time Yankiv was born until Yankiv was nifter Beis Alofim Reish Nun Hey. 2255 Yankiv was nifter. Yosef was born when Yankiv was 91 years of age. How do I know that? I know that from a different place, but how do you know that? Because Rashi in Seif Parshas told us, brings the Sugyas HaGemorah in Megillah at the end of the first paragraph. Rashi makes the whole cheshbon. Yankiv got the brochas when he was 63 years of age. That's when Yankiv was mekabel the brochas. And he stayed thereafter 14 years in Beis Midroshoi Shel Shem Ve'ever. So we have, if I have Samach Gimel plus 14, 77. After Yankov was 14 years in Beis Lovan, 7 and 7, Yosef is geboren geworden. So it comes out that Yaakov is 91 years old when Yosef was born. Are you with me? He's 91 years of age. Yosef lived 110 years, as I state in Posuk. So it comes out, this was 54 years after the P'tirah of Yankov. It was 54 years after the P'tirah of Yankov, Yosef was Nifter. So it comes out that Yosef was Nifter in the years 2309. Are you all with me? 2309. Yosef was Nifter 54 years after his father's P'tirah in 2255. Okay? So Yosef is gestorben Beis Alofim Shin Tes. Okay. Bnei Yisrael go out of Mitzrayim in 2448. Was 400 years from Uledes Yitzchok. Okay. Comes out that the P'tiras Yosef, which was in 2309, from then till 2448 is 139 years. If anybody here has a calculator wants to check it out, 139 years. So from the P'tirah of Yosef until Yetzias Mitzrayim, you read Sefer Shmoyis Vayomas Yosef. When does Klal Yisrael go? Klal Yisrael goes out of Mitzrayim exactly 139 years past the P'tirah of Yosef. Bnei Yisrael were 40 years in the Midbar, so they came in 2488. Okay? So it comes out that if 139 after they go out, 179 is until they come in to Eretz Yisrael. Okay? Now, if you look in the Psukim in the last parak in Sefer Yeshua, it says very modest. Yeshua is a machlekes. People who are here in the room know that Brisa said the Olam state that Yeshua was Molach al Yisrael Chovches Shalom. The Ibn Ezra, the Ramban, the Ibn Bechaye don't know from the Brisa that said the Olam. Umeshol so Yeshua binu nar leyomish mitoicha oil, says the Ramban. And the Posach in Parshas Kisiso, Umeshol so Yeshua binu nar. He says, how could you call a 56-year-old wise 56? Because he was 110 years old when he was Nifter. This is happening in Shana Rishayna. It's 40 years in the midbar of the Ramban, and Arbayis Rishon, the Sheva Shekip, Sheva Shechilku. So it's 50, altogether 54. If you knock it off from 110, you have 56 years old. According to Brisa the Seder Oilom, he wasn't 56, but he was 42. But Shitas Ramban, we don't know. It doesn't say anywhere. It says Yeshua lived and after Shechilkon he died, but we don't know. According to Brisa said he lived 14 years and he died in Mishkan Shiloh 14 years later. According to the Ramban, the Ibn Ezra, Rabbeinu Bechaye, all the Rishonim, it doesn't say anywhere. Yeshua died 14 years as soon as they finish Sheva Shechilkon. So it comes out, if I take the 179 and I add on another 14 years till P'tiras Yehoshua, so I'm coming to 193. Now Yeshua dies, and the Psukim in Sefer Yeshua says they did not bury the Atzmos Yosef until after they buried Yeshua bin Nun. Yeshua bin Nun was Nifter on Shteit in Tur. Yeshua bin Nun's Yortzat is Chovov Nissen. It's one of the days that the Yom Tov Shteit in Tur, in Taf Lamed, in Ilchos Pesach. Yeshua bin Nun's Yortzat is until after the Yemei Avelus, Shleishim Yemei Avelus, they buried him in the beginning of Chodesh Tammuz on his birthday, as they state in andere Midrashim, they buried Yosef. So it's well into his 194th year since he was Nifter. When is Yosef Nifter? In Rabbeinu Bechaye steht a Medrash Tatsche von Umfang Parshas Shmois, he was Nifter in Chof Aleph Tishrei. Nishane Rabbe. Yosef is nifter geworden Nishane Rabbe. Also ich steht in Medrash. So comes out, he was already 8 months into his 194th year. Zogt Yosef Hatzadik. Let's go back to the pasuk we started out. They're all playing with numbers, about Muskeni, about Tesis, all my numbers. Let's go to the pasuk. Vayash by Yosef es bnei Yisrael pokoid yifkoid. What's yifkoid? Begematria 194. Va'alisim es atzmai yisay mizeh. Zogt Yosef, in 194 years from now, Zogt HaNevuah, I shall be buried after my death. This is my Yosefo to, and Mele, zwei Psukim. The first one, Pokoid, he's talking about the Pokoid, the 190. That's what he's talking about. The Das Ken about Tesis B'Ksiv Moli. Yifkoid, I'm just saying that Yosef is Misnabe, Va'alisim es Hatzmoisa, you should bury my bones in Eretz Yisrael 194 years from now. Now let's get to our business. We're holding in, we'll soon see why we spoke about it, if we have the time of the day. Shteit Hazeh. He has, let's go back to Perek Zayin Posuk Tes. Vayi balayla u vayomer Hashem elov kum red b'machane ki nesati b'yotcho v'im yore ato lo red ato ufur na'acho el ha'machane v'shomatem ha'yadabru v'acha techezekne yodecho v'yoradto b'machane v'yered hu pur anayo al k'tzeh ha'chamushin asher b'machane u'midyon v'amolek וכל בני קדם נויפלים בו אימה כארבל רוי ולגמלה מספר כחוי לאשר על שפס הים לרוי. After HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. He's speaking to the Malach. He's speaking to the Navi. Whatever the shit is we went through. He's getting all kind of oisus or mefsim. He's mefakpek ba'amitus ha'nevuah, and he goes with the towel, with the gizo. He wakes up in the morning. He looks. He's standing on top of the mountain. He looks at the valley. He's sitting there with drei hindert koiling, as we say, after he sifted napa achar napa from 32,000 to 10,000 down to 300. He's sitting there and he sees kechoil asher al sfas hayam, as we say, minimum 600,000 soldiers against him. 300 soldiers, mi de Gemora, mi de Tesis, mi de Rab Kiveger, are coming. The only thing they have is a shofar, a zabriske shofar beyedeim, and some noidos we're going to soon see. They're going to do the war with this kind of klei kodesh. So that's it. Zok to Kodesh Baruch Hu to him, you know what? You're still host nochal tzabisl moire. I'll send you down the hill. Go take a look. What's the moral like in the machane, in the camp of the enemy? He goes down. Vayoved Gideon. Ve'ine ish mesaper l're'eyu chaloim. He finds a ish. Ish means one of the shemim. Datzel Tiber says over a dream to his fellow friend. Vayomer ine chaloim cholamti. והנה אצלי לחם סעורים מספך במחנה מידיון, ויובע עד האויל ויכהו, ויפול ויהפכהו למעלו ונופל האויל. He sees, as we spoke about, he sees the schus of Michas Oimer, tzil lechem sa'orim, falls on top of the oil goes upside down, the tzil goes on top of the oil and collapses. Vayomer, vayan re'eyu, it's not even the cholim. Vayan re'eyu, the poiser chaloim, vayomer en zois, hazah cholim, Bilti im cherev gidem beyorash ish Yisrael nosan ha'elokim beyoda es midem es kol ha'machan. And now he's going with a stiller heart. Now, after he speaks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's gornished. Oisus me'ashamayim is gornished. Of the zwei narische chayalim are talking to each other in the machan and Midian. One guy says he sees the tzlil misapech and this psacholim. This cholim, we're definitely going to win, and then he goes down to the war. And the question is really, was hat gesehen in the cholim? Why is Gideon verlosen sich an the cholim more than he had any time before when he's speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's speaking to the Malach? So today I would like to talk about a bit about chalimus in Tanakh and in Shas, all over, as much as we're going to have, and then next week maybe we're going to get to where you wanted to get. In the Tanakh, or in the Tanakh, we find 8 constructive chalimus. Okay, we'll go through it fast. Chalim of Avimelech, Melech Grar, when he's taking sorrow. The chalimus of Yankev, which comprises of the beginning of Parshas Vayetze, Sula Mutzav Arso, Vayachaloim V'inei Sula Mutzav Arso V'roisha Magia Shamaymo. The Malach that comes to him, B'Chalei Malayla, talks to him about, according to the Ramban, it was a Malach, it was a Cholim, that he's telling him about the Gneva and the Gzele, that his Shver is narrowing him up, the Malach, B'Chalei Malayla. The Zelbe Malach, according to Chazal, that he goes to Lovan, Be'emtza Alayla, he tells him, don't touch, he tells Lovan. The Chalemas of Yosef in the beginning of Parshas Vayeshev, Chalema Alumois, the Chalem of Shemesh Yoreach and Koichovim. Thereafter, the Chalemas of Sarah Mashkim and Sarah Oifim. Then you have the Chalemas Paroi in Parshas Mikeh. It's about Shiboilim and Porois, Shdufois, Shmeinois, Briois. Then we have the Cholem of Bilam. Bilam was a Cholem. Kodesh Baruch Hu was Nira Elo B'Chalem Alaylo. Then we have the Cholim here of Gideon, and then we have the famous Cholim of Nebuchadnezzar that he woke up in the morning, he saw him, Vatispoem Ruchoi, not Vatipoem, Vatispoem, Tzvei Molotov, Vatispoem Ruchoi, he forgot not only if he's trying to peace, so he forgot the Cholim himself, he didn't know. And he calls all the Yoyetzim, he says, you better tell me what I dreamt, and what was the pshat in the dream that I dreamt. I don't remember what I dreamt. They tell him, what kind of nonsense is that? How can we know what you dreamt? If not, I'm going to kill you, He calls in Daniel, he goes in, he talks to Hanan and Mishael V'Azariah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Hanan and Mishael V'Azariah the Chaloim. They go in, and he tells him, it's called Chaloim Nebuchadnezzar, the famous Chaloim Nebuchadnezzar. And what is this the dream? You know, it's Eim of Almo. Ich got a shtickle shimush ba Reb Chaim Kanievsky about Chaloimis. I'm a Yoitze Brisk, and I know that Beli Guzme, I was Mishtatef L'chol HaPochas in 7 or 8, Atovas Chaleim Brisk, very into Atovas Chaleim. The Brisk by them Chaleim is who knows. And I want to, since we're here, like to take it apart a little bit and see Chaleim Yetz or Chaleim Nish. I just would like to say a few remarks in the time that we have. Take a look. Be'emes Chaleim is in Tanakh. It does say Chaleim Ishav. It says Kiyokum Nevi Sheker or Choylem Chaleim. It's talking about Chaleim Ishav. And in Sefer Zechariah, Shteit HaPosuk, Chaleimos Shav Yedaberu. Chaleimos is talking about nonsense. And Shir HaMailos in Tehillim says, Ayinu Kacholem Kilu Cholem is Litzones, Ayinu Kacholem, we're dreaming something which is not true. The Gemara in Brochis. Take a look at the Gemara in Brochis. This is your first reference today. Gemara in Brochis, Daf Yud. The Gemara is talking about Chizkiyo HaMelech, Cholos, Noitel Lomus. Omar Rav Chonon, afilu Baal HaChalemes. Okay. Oimer le'lohodom le'mocho humeis. Baal HaChalemes, Rashi says, is a Sarah Memuna HaChalemes. Upstairs, he is a minister. Amalech, a Sarah is Memuna HaChalemes. If the Sarah Memuna HaChalemes tells you, what do you mean tells you? How do you know it's him? It's weiter in Cholim, but ich bin the minister, I'm a Shliach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I have the portfolio of dreams up here. Ich sag dir, tomorrow you dying. Al imna atzmoi min arachamim sheneemar ki beroiv chalemes vehavolim udvorim arbe ki eselakim ani yore. So obviously, the chaloim is a dover emes, because if it would be stam bobemaises, vos oto moire. I mean, Chizkiyo is petrified. He's not almost because he believes the chol. Okay, so Cholim is something which he's telling him, he's coming to be Menachem, Afilu Chelchoma, Cherev Chadam, Munachal Savor Shalodom, Al Yisrash Menarachmim. Right? With the Briskarov's vote, the geht am Mishpot, Mishtetchen, Migeitchen, und der Messer ist da auf dem Hals, Al Yisrash Menarachmim. There's another Gemara in Brochis, in Daf Nun Hey, 2 blot before. I'm sorry, in Daf Nun Zayin, 2 blot after. And this is not 2 blot. This is, the first Gemara was Brochus Daf Yud, this is Daf Nun Zayin, I'm sorry. The Gemara says a few things are Echad Mishishim. Ve'elohem, Eish, Dvash, Shabbos, Shein Levachalom, Eish, Echad Mishishim Legehenim, Dvash, Echad Mishishim Leman, Shabbos, Echad Mishishim Le'el Mabor, Shein Echad Mishishim Lemiso, Chaloim, Echad Mishishim Lenevuah. Obviously, it's not a Dvar B'Teilim, it's Echad Mishishim Benevuah. Right? Gemara says, Shmuel, the Gemara, the 2 blot before, that's the Gemara I made before, Ki Chozo, Chelmo Bisha, when he saw Shlech Techolim, Omar Chalem Eshav Yidaberu. He imported the pasuk in Zechariah, Chalem Eshav Yidaberu. Ki Chozo, Chelmo Tovo, Omar v'chaloim eshav yidaberu v'aksiv b'chaloim adaber imoy. There's a raya that you could follow, but he interpreted the chaloim whichever way. In other words, he had two options. We find that chaloim is eshav yidaberu, and we find b'chaloim adaber boy. So it was a cholim toiv. He said b'chaloim eshav yidaberu with a question mark. B'chaloim adaber boy. So avadi tzemes. But when he saw a chaloim, which is a schlechte cholim, he interpreted it and he said sigol nicht mit nicht. Okay. The Gemara says, look at the Gemara. The Gemara says, Anovi asher ito chaloim yesaper chaloim ve'asher dvori ito yedaber dvar emes ma leteven es habar neum Hashem v'chi ma inyan teven ve'bar etzel hacholim. For the Gemara, Omar Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, kishem sheyefsher lebar beloi teven kach yefsher lechaloim beloi dvorim betelim. In other words, every cholim has some devorim betelim. The Gemara continues, Omar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman Omar Rabbi Yonasan, Ein mari le'odom al-miru libo yishenema ant malko. That's what Daniel tells Nebuchadnezzar. Ra'ayon cho al-mishko v'solcho v'yibo yisema me'ocho v'ra'ayon levovcho tinda. So you can't trust cholims. So on one end we have that it's chelik from nevuah and b'chaloim adaber boy. On the other side we say yef shel chaloim b'lo yidvorim betelim. Okay, this is Divrei Agoda, but let's go up here. Halacha lemaiseh. What do you? Steht in Gemara in Sanhedrin. Horei shehoyo mitztaer suges hagmor in Sanhedrin daf lamed. Horei shehoyo mitztaer al moyes ma'aser sheni shiniach lo oviv. Ubo baal hachaloim ve'omar lo kach v'kach b'mokoim ploinihein shel ma'aser shenihein. In other words, he dreams at night. The Baal Achaloimis gedenks to the Sar Zok Rashi, Sar Memuna Achaloimis. Look at Rashi. I brought the Rashi. Baal Achaloim, Sar Amar Achaloimis Baal Look, Kach v'Kachem. These $2,342.70. I'm telling you, up on this forum, dort liegt azah sot matbeer. And it's richtig. Steht in Gemore, Loi ma omru, oh, ze hoyo maise. So he goes, and he tells him, Ve'omru chachomim said, Divrei chaloimis le'maylim v'le'meridim. Zocht Rashi, Divrei chaloimis le'maylim ve'yochel le'ytziyim imkoim. So you can't trust chaloimis. Al pi halacha, if he tells you it's Mois Maser Sheni, and he was right about the amount and about the place, yet the son can take the money and walk away home and buy himself anything his heart desires. It's gepasst in Shulchan Aruch. Somebody was meniach moyes pikod etzel oviv. The halacha is he doesn't have to pay it back. Comes with the malach comes and says, you know, there's $1,000 out there on top of the kiveger, and you go and you find it. You don't, and it belongs to Yankel Pomerantz. You don't have to give it back. Halacha kipas Shulchan Aruch that you don't give the chaloimes. In the sugi in the Dorim in Davches, the Gemara says nidu b'chaloim. Somebody gets up and he sees the woman nadim in chaloim. Tzorich eser bnei hodom lahatiloi. Right? The Ran says, look at the Ran. Lefi she'efsher b'shlichus hamokim nisnado v'lefichach tzorich asor la'atir sheshchina imoy. And the Shulchan Aruch paskens in Shulchan Aruch in Yeridea pasken that way. So we have two psakim in Shulchan Aruch. On one hand, we have a psak in Shulchan Aruch that if somebody tell Michoel the Ma'aser Sheni or Tzedakah, you keep the money even though you got right information, accurate information, yet Chaloim Mishav Yidabeir. Mitzat Sheni, if you see somebody menade you b'chaloim asoro, you have to take asoro anoshim to be matir b'chaloim even though Shulchan Aruch paske mezake shtoro lebitrei. It's nicht meine Akashes, aber wusste Tashbetz. The Tashbetz fragt the Kashe. And I'm bringing here the Tashbetz. Take a look at the Lashon HaTashbetz. Shekol chaloim usofek im chaloim emes hu oloi. Vekeven shebekol chaloim sofek lefaneinu, arei shebemome ma'amidu al cheskas mome. By Shulchan Aruch Hashem Mishpot ubeisur sakona azlin lechumer. He says every chaloim is a question mark. So the gets up $1 is hamim mome al cheskasoi. The cheskas mom belongs to me. Ich bin muchzek bist du chayzek. I have the money in my possession. I don't have to give it away. But by isur or by sakona is lechum. V'lachein. This is all lashon hatashbetz. V'lachein. Bepikod nisha ben muchzek arei sheyochel la'ashir hamom le'atzmoi. ובנידה שהוא איסור אז לינן לחומרו ומצריכים אויסוי התורה. אז זה יזוק לתשבץ. It's a suffix. It could be either way. In moments you stay put, and the halacha is bribes by the muhzik. In isur, in sakona, yichashin lechumer, and you go and you take asora anoshim to be matir the nidui. As I state, the problem is the Gemara is not talking about only by moment from Pikod. The Gemara is talking about Mois Meiser Sheni. By Mois Meiser Sheni there is no muhzik, so why shouldn't be machmir? By Moim Pikod, I understand. Pikod, it's mein Geld. But Moim Meiser Sheni, it's not, I'm not muhzik in the Mois Meiser Sheni. So by Mois Meiser Sheni, the teretz is not going to suffice. The Chu, you should have to give the Meiser Sheni. It's not your mom. Besides, the ganze Loshen HaGemora, Loi Mailim v'Loi Moiridim, is a modern Loshen. By stories, Loi Mailim v'Loi Moiridim, you totally not, you don't pay any attention to the Chalemus. Loi Mailim v'Loi Moiridim. There's a very interesting sefer. I own the sefer. Face it to Pitzvania, it's Domeir, the sefer. There's a child's Chuvas called Shiva Sian. Shiva Sian, he given the Zun from the Neide Beyuda. He given a Goyen Oilom, and andere gesagt. We're not going to get involved right now to this Shiva Sian, but he has a sefer that says, look, he's given a grace about Kishran. Every word you see from him, you see is Kishran. And he says this following. Take a look. What? It's printed in Egen Sefer. I don't know. The print I have is very old. It's extremely, extremely old. I don't know if they reprinted it again. I have a Sefer maybe 90, 100 years old. Shiva Sian. He says, the Gemara in the Dorm Daf Ches says, what happened if somebody sees in Chaloim that he was Menudeh, and he also sees in Chaloim that will matter him the Neder. The nidui. Okay? He sees two pictures. That first are menade him, and then he sees Zog the Gemara Tzorich HaTorah. Why? She'efshel lebar b'lo yiteven. V'yitochen shehanidui hoyo amiti ve'atorah sheker. V'lochen chayshina. He says, Efshel lebar b'lo yiteven. Which means to say part is garbage, and part is gute tvua. So we don't know which part is which. So therefore, it's possible the nidui was emes, and the part that he sees, the Torah, was sheker. So you have to be chayshish. The hainu, the bekol cholim, gamu mishel emes, yesh bo ich sheker, chelak shel sheker. V'chayshinen, right? V'chay nifsek b'shulchan aruch, nidu b'chaloim avenidu v'tzorach HaTorah, afiyu yitiru b'chaloim eino klum. V'lochein, kol shelo b'chaloim kama dvorim, this is his loshen. Arei sheyefsha shekulam emes, da ein cholim b'loi dvorim b'teilim. U'mishimachi, listen to this kishre. Kiva sheminyan amoyesum ekoimim hoyo meduyok. He tells you it's $1,230. And it's standing on top of Rab Kvega on the right side in the sixth aisle. So, kefi she'omer le'bal v'chaloim, bal kochach, the ma she'omer she'meiser she'ini, she'ploin, is sheker. There has to be some, he says there's two parts of the cholim. One part is bar, one is teven. One is emes, one is sheker. So I have a proof that the part of the minyan and the mokoim is emes. So it must be that the other part, Meiser Sheni, you don't have to listen to him. V'lefi zeh, he says, im roa b'chaloim rak prat echod, lo yineidam shumochu b'nidui, she'enan yoidim ma emes u'ma lo v'chashin l'chumer. This is his kishra d'kishtikol, that we don't know which part is emes, which part is sheker, therefore yichayish l'chumer. That's one mahalach, he says. Another mahalach, he says, that the Gemara says, cholim is echod mishishim benevuah. He says, okay, echod mishishim benevuah. He says, acholim is a nevuah. Nevuah is always ala osid, not ala over. There's no nevuah about yesterday. There's no nevuah about what happened yesterday. Nevuah is that's going to happen tomorrow. So he says, benidur b'chaloim, the nidu ivadai came, achmas aveire, or meiser roshe oso. ומזהיר לא יסם מפני פורונוס העשיד אלובי. וכיוון שהוא דבורים הנוגעים לא עושים חיישין שם החול הממס. בשעיקי בעידה פיקודנה ונגיע לדור שכבר רואה באובו, לשייך לנבואה, ואמרינה שחלוים שקר. Yes, two mahalchim, one better than the other. He says, since chaloim is dvar nevuah, it's echo b'shishi benevuah, nevuah is on the future and not on the past. So b'yachas to the first one is, why were the menadim? Obviously did something which because of that tomorrow, this is going to happen, you're going to die, this is something that's going to happen tomorrow. So that you take the nevuah for granted. But when they're coming to tell you by Pikodin, he's telling you, Yankel Pomerantz came in 3 weeks ago, deposited by your father $1,000. This is something that happens from yesterday. That part is not nevuah. If it's not nevuah, you're not mechuyev to listen. That's his shtickle Torah. I just want to get back to Gideon just for a few minutes, and I'm going to wrap it up. The nevuah that Kodesh Baruch Hu tells Gideon, I'm going to give you Midian. It's going to go biyotcho. Don't worry about it. This is the whole parak that we learned before in the previous weeks. And that's not moil for Gideon not to be scared. He's still scared. He needs more and more simon. In a second, Sekum do Achayal from Machane Midian tells the Chaloim to his friend, all of a sudden, by Gideon does Givon Kodesh v'Torah, and he goes Sameach v'Toiv Lev el Amishte. Why? So look at the Medrash Bereshis that I'm quoting. Vayachal loim oid chaloim acher vayisaper oisel le'echov. Omar loim, osid ben lotzes mimeni, sheyoshia eschem v'yifra misonechem al yedei sipur chaloim. Zehoyo Gideon, you listen to this? He's telling his brothers, I osid lotzes mimeni ben, who is the ben? Because he has sons Menashe and Ephraim, and we know that Gideon is the son of Aviezri, who is Aur Einikel from Menashe. Asid lotzes mimeni ben sheshia escha v'yipru b'soyin dachem sipur chaloim. Zeo Gideon shenema vayovrei Gideon vayishma ish mesap be'ine ish mesap l'reu b'chaloim. The reason why Yosef is telling the choloim to his brothers, steht in Medrash, because the alidei chaloim yeshia es Yisrael. Steht in the Meforsh in Zayisran and at the bottom, the reason why these 7 words, Vayachaloim oid chaloim acher, Vayesaper oisel echov, look at this, look at by us, Vayovoi Gideon ve'ine ish, Mesaper l'chaeu chaloim vayema. These both times in both chaloimis, it says 7 words before, and then afterwards, Vayoyma. Sai by Yosef and Sai by Gideon. If you look by us in the Posuk, exactly the very same lashon. If you look, Yosef starts, it says, Chalamti chaloim. Look at the re'eyu that answers him, Ine, chaloim chalamti. Exactly the same way. You know, Yosef, the first time he tells, Vayaged le'echov, the second time he said, Vayesaper le'echov. Why? Because he said, Yokum ben mimeni shalidei sipur chaloim Yoshia es Yisrael. Which means to say, the format in which the ganze chaloim for Yosef is given a chaloim for his ben benoi, for his Gideon, who is ur einikel, that the Yeshua has to come through sipur chaloim. So Yosef is mesaper the chaloim. Mele kol zman Gideon did not have that recipe, the schus oves from the Elter Zayde, which was mesaper the chaloim to Echov, which the ganze ishtalshelus for Yosef and the Yeshua for Klal Yisrael came through Yosef, came through sipur chaloim. So the sipur chaloim of Yosef is osid lotzas mimeni ben. When he hears this chaloim, he knows right now is the time. Push came to shove. He had a big nevuah. Gideon was a novi, as I state. We'll see soon in the next psukim how he had nevuah mamish. He wasn't just a shepherd; he was a novi. So Mimele, I just want to bring another medrash. Rabbi Omar Shmuel Bar Nachman Ela told us Yaakov Yosef Lo yotzorich kol lememakel. Told us Yaakov Ruv Matam Yosef Kol ma she'ira lezeh ira lezeh. Ma ze no yilod mol ze no yilod mol. Ze levu malachim ze levu mol. Ze nisgadel al yedei chaloim veze nisgadel al yedei chaloim. Yaakov Avinu's godless started in the chaloim vayetze Yaakov Avinu Sulam Mutzav Arzo. His godless from Yaakov was created via a dream. Godless, then he's Gadol. Who is this Gadol? Yosef? Al-Yedei Chaloim. Gideon, who is come from Yosef, also had to get his Godless. That's why Yaakov is, Yosef is telling his brothers the Chaloim. And same here, Kolzman, he doesn't hear the sipur of the Chaloim. He doesn't think he came to this bracha that Kodesh Baruch Hu bestowed upon his great-grandfather. Therefore, the Kodesh Baruch Hu tells him the Bi Nevuah didn't give him the reassurance. But when he sees the Sipur HaChaloim, he sees the Atzlocha, Tkuma Duch the Chaloim, he understands, I am the Mamshech of my Elter Zayde, and the same thing, Klal Yisrael got the Yeshua through Yosef, Klal Yisrael here is going to get the Yeshua through me, via the Sipur HaChaloim, this loop is closing and the Yeshua is going to come. And the under a shtickle, we're going to go next time.